Happy Monday, everyone. Here's some quick updates. I've been off social media. We've completed another 90-day cycle of doing some posts and just really me trying to teach myself a couple different programs and a couple different things with social media. So I'll get into that in a second. But first and foremost, I really do apologize. There's a lot of people I have not been getting back to on social media. I'm just going to be very direct. If you know me, you know me. I'm not a fan of social media. I really don't like it. I do believe it's a very viable business tool, and you need it. It's like websites were 10 years ago, or so forth, 15 years ago. But me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it. To me, it's very exhausting to do these videos and do the editing and so forth. So I took the last week to 10 days off. And so first and foremost, I just want to apologize to a lot of people if I haven't gotten back to you in the DMs. And I know we've got three different Instagram profiles that we have some leads generated from. I just want to say this so it's easiest for everyone is, I'm sorry to get back to you. I've just made a decision that I personally won't be taking any more online clients. Definitely not anymore, for the end of the year. I actually have a couple clients that are coming up where they're ending, and even the people I'm working with, I'm just letting them know I'm going to take about a 2-month break. So I really don't see myself, this could change, but I don't see myself taking online coaching clients until about maybe February of 2025. That could change, but here's some other updates. So, uh, some other updates are that I got a lot of projects, not a lot. I've got 3 particular projects that we're looking at that could drastically change um, where I'm living, either from my town to my state, or where I'm going for the next, at least where I'm going for the next 6 weeks. So I can't say much more than that. So each of the projects are, I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I'm looking at offers right now, and I'm looking at a couple of my friends walking me through those offers at what would be, the best scenario for me. So with that said, not going to be taking any online clients until February. So I do apologize if I haven't gotten back to you. If you still do really need a coach and you want someone who's similar to me in that line of holistic education, try to shoot me another DM, and I will try to forward you at least an Instagram or a Facebook or wherever your contact, LinkedIn, wherever you're contacting me on, of someone that would be similar. It's just a focus that it's just me wanting to get focused on some things. So, um, what else? So we've got a lot of things I do want to cover. So one is social media. We've been doing a lot of different things, trying a lot of different things. We've had some posts that killed it, got up to like 3 million. We have some posts that did 50,000, some that did in the 10,000 range. Um, to let everybody know, I'm using StreamYard and Opus Clips. Really are just really the only two programs I'm using. I did use CapCut a little bit. So I do find Opus Clips and StreamYard to be very compatible and user friendly for someone who's not a big fan of social media or being very tech savvy. So that's what I'm using. Some really interesting things I've noted. I've talked to some people that are social media like coaches, and I'm like, I'm just not the craziest about how, if I'm negative and I attack someone, um, that gets more of an attention. Like, don't get me wrong, I like to do little memes, or I don't know what they're called, skits on here where you're kind of poking fun at some stupid ideas and some things. But it just seems there's an overpreponderance of negativity that gets attention. So I just wanted to break from that, and we're looking at what do we want to do in the future for those types of skits. I do realize that the more intellectual posts where I'm teaching about magnesium and why it's important, what are the good brands, they just don't get the engagement from you guys as when I do an Elon Musk one, making fun of him, or we do something that has to do with, let's say, like a hardcore, MMA fight. I did have the idea. I started posting. I thought we'd get some more attention on those, but I did something called kinesiology for white belts, where I wanted to mimic what this guy, Dr. Kickass, I believe is his Instagram name. I'll share it. But what he does is he takes more of this route of, he looks at the UFC or MMA fights, and then when someone gets an injury, we'll kind of like show you the x-ray and the breakdown of why did that injury occur? Why is the bone weak in that position? Or why is the joint weak in that lock? The real big one he did was talking about Robert Whitaker's teeth and how that crank crushed his mandible. So I wanted to do something for coaches, like strength coaches and people that understood human biology about, okay, how are these really cool kinesiology or these concepts of strength coaching fit into jujitsu? Because that's the beauty of it. You're looking at leverage and positioning that gives you strength, you know. So anyway, I'm going to try and do more of that. And what else do we have coming up? Um, there's so much I want to say about what the projects are, but I can't say anything. So we'll take a look at what they're going to be. I will say this: this is one of the first times in my life that I am turning around and I'm just saying to the universe and God, like, here's three things. I know I want to be in the health and fitness field, so they're all have something to do with that. But I'm also just kind of stepping back and being like, okay, wherever you want to put me, I'm going to look at the most positive things about that, and then I'm going to go after it. Versus what I would normally do is come up with a hierarchy of one, two, three, what I want to go after, and then complex plans to attain that. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't work. So what I've noticed is that let me just try something different, which some close friends of mine suggested is that, hey, let's just maybe take a step backwards. Let's look at opportunities. And instead of forcing one because you think this one's more prestigious or this one's a little bit better, just let's just relax and see which one values you the most. And then that's where I think God and the universe is going to want me to get involved in, you know. So for those of you who know, I spent the last year working in promotional items and merchandise. Um, Most of the companies I worked with were horrible. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to get to doing a post on it. Just certain things I just don't feel like going back on. But you know, working with a particular Orlando-based company with a guy who's extremely fake, just a real coward of a person. Then going working with another company that just dropped the ball, and another company that dropped the ball, and then working on a large event that just really didn't live up to what they were supposed to be. Um, You know, I don't want to say anything negative other than that's just not my cup of tea. So I gave it a shot. I said I'd give it 1 year, and that's that. So I do know that I want to be in the health and fitness field. I want to go back to that full time. Now, whether that's being a consultant and working behind the scenes on a multitude of gyms or a gym, you know, from the marketing and the services and the branding, or does that mean, you know, uh, going into being a personal trainer and really just getting a couple new certifications and diving back into some new things. The landscape of coaching in education has changed a lot in just the 2 years. Um, I would say that I've kind of been out of it, and I've been in Florida, so that's interesting to me. What else can we get to? Oh, so the podcast. I do apologize. There's a gentleman that said yes to the podcast, and I didn't get him out that information, which I really need to apologize to everybody for, because this is somebody I really want to have on the podcast. He might be probably one of the more valuable guests compared to the audience of you out there. So he's one of the top strength and conditioning coaches, period. Not that I know, not in the East Coast. He's just one of the top strength and conditioning coaches. And he's written 2 books. And one of the book is specifically about the conditioning for grip strength and jujitsu and judo and I'm sorry, and grappling sports. So I'm going to retouch base with him, and that's going to be our first new podcast. Whether I'm going to get to that before the end of the year, or maybe I'll tape it and then launch it before January. I have one. I have 2 other podcasts I taped, but the audio is so bad. I did one with a young lady out of Colorado, but the audio is like really bad. And then I did another one with Brian. The one audio I can barely hear, and then the other audio I did with Brian again is just it's just got a lot of crackling in it. So again, I'm just working on my tech. This is a new camera. I got to work on microphones and so forth. But so we're gonna get back to the podcasting for that. And yeah, so other than that, I think I just wanted to give everybody those quick updates, which is you know, I won't be taking any more online clients till at least February. Um, the men's circle we were looking to launch as a test that is definitely going to be put on hold because that might be done at one of these projects, you know. And I will say this, all these projects are in the projects are in the health and wellness fitness field. So that's also part of this time restraint, is that if you know anything about the business, January is a huge month for sales. And what I've always used December for, and the smart business owners do, is your education month. You know, you're not going to do a lot of business, not a lot of people are going to work out. So you really, really develop your staff in December, and then you're ready to kick butt in January. So we have to make a decision on these projects, because I need a couple weeks in December for whatever I'm doing to be prepared with that project for January. So that's also another reason I'm taking a step back. You won't see me much live on social media. I do apologize if it takes me a few days or a week to get back to people. I've got a lot of messages in my inbox I haven't answered yet. And again, I figured it would just be easier to do this big post and people will see it. So with that said, Rise of the Savage Intellectual podcast will be back soon. Like I said, I have an awesome Eric is an awesome guest. I think it's going to be one of our best guests we've had on it, especially if you're an MMA fighter or a jiu-jitsu practitioner or any type of wrestler, any type of grappling sport. I'm going to try and get that taped soon and out, hopefully before the new year. And then sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I should be able to publicly announce what the new project will be for 2025. So, and just to let everybody out there know, like this is something that I've only shared with about 4 or 5 of my closest friends on what's happening and gotten their advice on it. So, I haven't even want to be on social media. And I haven't even contacted certain people because I know that I'll have a big mouth and talk too much about it. So, other than that, I just really want to wish everybody a really happy Thanksgiving. I want to end on the note that, there's a lot of stuff we're going to come back and cover content on. We've got the Stipe John Jones fight. We've got a lot of local fights I wanted to have some comments and cover on. I want to get back to the kinesiology for white belts. And I want to get back to a lot of the negativity that's has been circling the results from the election. Because like I do really believe there's actually a very decent shining light, at least if you've been on the holistic world, what we might be facing in a turnover at the CDC, at the FDA, especially with the FDA, and the National Institute of Health. Like this has like been a 20-year fight for some of us to just recognize the fact that there's a problem, admit there's a problem that we need to address, instead of calling us all crazy hippies. And I don't want to be bitter here, but I just watched, this whole election cycle where I'm supposed to acknowledge if you want to call yourself a cat or say you're they, them, and I'm supposed to just accept that. Yet for 2 decades, I've been fighting in this holistic coaching world about fluoride in water, about how the FDA is not on our side. And I've been called a quack and crazy. And no one, like, I wasn't asking you to change your pronouns. I was just asking you to look at the science and look at the health and look at the health of our children. And I was called a quack and a weirdo for 10, 20 years. So I don't have much empathy for people who want to fight to be recognized as a cat or use plural pronouns, and then say, oh, the world's over because Trump's taking over and now we're not going to be able to use these pronouns. It's like there's so much other good going on. And I'm sorry, I'm for the first time stating this, I just don't have empathy for you. You didn't have empathy for me and my group of people for 20 years or 10 years that, lost jobs or were called crazy or, were, what was the other thing we were called? Like having a cult because I wanted to eat organic food. It's just, you want to talk about bullying and non-acceptance. Us on this holistic fight have been doing this like 10, 20 years. It's great that you're in your 40s now and you want to like, oh, I want to pay attention to what I'm feeding my kids. It's like, great. But we were fighting this fight before you even had kids. We were fighting this fight before you knew. So again, there's a lot to get into with Trump and the election. But what I would just like to say is that on the little bit of pin light that maybe we can find some common ground on is what we're really able to make happen in the US government, which is this finally recognizing that we have a problem with our government agencies overseeing our food sources, our medical, our drugs, our vaccines. And, we've gone through an opioid crisis. We've gone through the vaccine issues. Like, I cannot stress how monumental this change is. And if we can start on a middle ground there, maybe we can start to find some more middle ground and not have these like, horrible splits of good friends and good families, especially as we come up in the holidays. I just want to leave everyone with that. Like, just we can focus on the positive, what could be happening with our health institutions and what's happening with our food sources. Is like I said, it's decades of us fighting this and being called quacks and being called losers and weirdos and every name in the book, and um, not getting jobs for our opinions on organic food, or the fact that we fought because breastfeeding we feel is better than formula food, but because we wanted mothers to breastfeed, we were all these names. Like I said, I just don't have much empathy for the other side. It's kind of like, get in line. We've all had our battles, but this one's more important, and this one's been going on longer, and we finally had a breakthrough. So, and again, we're going to see what happens in the next 6 months. We'll see if these changes happen. But like I said, for the last almost 2 decades, we finally have someone that's in the government that's at least doing step one and saying, we have a problem, and now we'll see how they address it. But again, I as we get together for Thanksgiving, that's what I'm going to kind of say and ask of everybody. So again, I didn't want to go on the rant. I kind of did. But I just think there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this with the food and the health. And we'll see what the other areas are. But again, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the election. We're definitely going to follow what RFK is doing, and if he really follows up on what he's doing. There's some really crazy things, or not crazy good things, we're hearing about some Texas mandates that they're banning foods already, and it's going to be interesting to see. Definitely want to get into the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. So one of the things that I will end with, here's my conspiracy tinfoil if anybody wants to check me. Ladies and gentlemen, there's an interesting figure who's kind of moving behind the scenes, and people are like, oh, Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and Dana White. Look up a guy by the name of Aubrey Marcus. All right. Aubrey Marcus, I'll exaggerate for effect. Aubrey Marcus is a main mover and shaker behind RFK, and he's a main mover and shaker behind Jake Paul. So I'm going to leave it on that. And like I said, we're going to start doing some content, and we're going to get to all those fights. Plus, we're going to get to the political ramifications of the election within the food industry and the medical industry. And hopefully, I'll be getting back to you guys in another week or two with some big announcements. Otherwise, everybody have a great holiday. Let's focus on what are the good things we can do, not what are all the bad negative things that can happen. What are the good things that are right in front of us that we can work on each day? And I'm really, for the first time in many, many years, I'm really looking forward to the holidays of this year, and a start to a new, beautiful year. So, to everybody out there, go to the fucking gym. I don't know. Never good at any of these things. So, I'll just say, everybody, peace out, and we will talk to you soon. I'm trying to end this 17 times. It's still recording. It's still recording. I'm going to hit it here.